The ultimate all-in-one electric homebrewing system is here. The new Grainfather G40 can produce up to 11 gallons of beer and features all the latest advancements in homebrewing technology, including wireless control so you can monitor your brew day from the Grainfather app. With an innovative new grain basket design that improves workflow, reaching mash efficiencies of 75% or more is easy. The 3300-watt heating element brings your wort to a boil quickly without any scorching, and the large hot plate filter guarantees that no unwanted grain matter or hop trub reaches your fermenter. Every G40 comes standard with a high-powered built-in pump that can handle temperatures over 200 degrees Fahrenheit and a full 3-year warranty that guarantees you'll be able to keep on brewing no matter what. The Grainfather G40 is available now at your favorite homebrew retailer or online at grainfather.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Frozen yeast viability, serving from a conical fermenter, lagering tips, and ambient odors affecting fermentation. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 277. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page. Or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing, and today I'm joined by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com, Mr. James Carlson, looking fly in that flamingo shirt. I really like it. I just know. And then continuing below me, he is the President and Chief Keg Washer of kegconnection.com, Mr. Todd Burns, looking fly in the Brautag brewing shirt. Gentlemen, welcome back to another episode.
Thank you.
I do like, y'all are both on point. Todd, did you wear that because you knew we were recording today, or do you you wear brew? Yeah. Okay, I didn't know if you wore, because sometimes I wear my brew shirts.
I wear it all the time.
Yeah, just to work.
But I'm going to take credit for thinking of that.
One time,
say yes.
I almost wore. You remember my onesie? The coverall that I have that you made fun of.
Oh yeah, I remember it.
I almost.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I almost wore it last week when y'all were gone, and I was running shop, but I was afraid of the backlash from our bookkeeper Josh Brown, who was also up there helping me. I'm pretty sure he would have had some choice words to say about me in my onesie.
He would have had a field day, I can assure you.
I did, though, wear my Homebrew Happy Hour brew shirt, and the FedEx girl said, "You look like you work for UPS," because I had on brown shorts, and it's a brown shirt. I was like, I apologized to her. I didn't want to get her upset. But anyways, guys, it is. I can't believe Easter's come and gone. Y'all's trip has come and gone. We don't have to go in depth, but I don't appreciate when y'all have beautiful venues every now and then and beautiful sceneries on y'all's trips, and that's the only text y'all send me is, "Oh, it's so terrible. Look at this view of the bay as we're at Anchor Brewing enjoying a steam beer." Like that.
Oh yeah, it was good. We actually had a couple of beers there, and I will tell you, we went to the Anchor. Basically, the Anchor Brewery is right next door, but this is their tasting room. But it's not just a room; it's like a really cool place. They have a lot of old, antique brewing, kegging type equipment, mainly mainly, I guess it was both kegging and brewing, right? And it was really neat to see all of that. I mean, but the staff was just
amazing.
Outstanding. They were so nice. And, they actually comped us a beer, the first beer we had, and we just told them a little bit about ourselves. And she's like, oh, the first one's on me. And then the guy working, we were like, oh, man, one of these days we'd love to come back and do a tour. And he was like, oh, we're so busy. If we weren't, I would just run you over to the brewery and do it myself. So,
yeah,
I mean, super nice people.
Hey, I say stuff like that all the time, though, knowing I'm not going to do it. Okay, that's the easy time.
And also, we had some really good beers. Do you remember what was the one we had that was a specialty beer? Josh would have really liked it.
I hate when you do that.
Was it that creamsicle ale?
No, not that one. That was not at that brewery. No,
I don't like orange.
So James is giving me shit, but so we had we went to another brewery, which is I think the San Francisco brewery, and I ordered a creamsicle. What am I trying to say, James? A creamsicle, not just an IPA, but a milk or whatever you call them, IPA.
Yeah.
And I just, because, I like to try new things and I like to keep an open mind. And it was really bad. I mean, it was so bad. It's just not my kind of beer.
Like cherry wheat?
Really,
like Sam Adams cherry wheat bad or not that bad?
It was very sweet. And and it did kind of taste like a dreamsicle, but more like a dreamsicle than a beer. And I didn't like it. So I drank, and it was only a very small glass. It was like 8 ounces. So I drank like half of it, which was like 4 ounces. And the guy came by and I go, you know what? I'm just not a fan of that beer. I think I'm going to get something else. And he was like, we already drank half of it. And I was like,
he said you could have let me know before you drank half of it.
And I was like, dude, I'm happy to pay for it. I'm not trying to get a free beer. I'm just telling you I don't want to drink it.
Yeah, you're just saying you can take it because I'm done.
But to be fair, he was super nice after that. I think he kind of went, oh, yeah, I read that wrong. So anyway, their other beers were good. So it was good.
I imagine in the food service industry, which I've never worked, and I know, James, I'm preaching to the choir because you have. Yeah. I imagine there are a lot more people who act the way that guy thought you were gonna act, Todd, where they're like, hey, I enjoyed half of this beverage, but I want my money back in here. Take the rest. Like, there's probably people out there who do that.
And you all know who I am. I mean, you know how I am. It's my old buddy Eric. He always says you have to try at least 2 or 3 sips of a beer before you make a decision. And I could have probably determined my decision on the first sip, but I wanted to give it the full chance, and it failed. So,
sure. Yeah. Well, I'd love to sit here and say while y'all were gone, well, the exotic beer I enjoyed. No, I just drank your alcohol at the bar.
No, I saw all the bottles on the front porch.
Liar. I'm not going to show Todd is framing me to get me in bad relationship with his wife. He's jealous because every night I was getting home cooking. I was getting the treatment. She made desserts specifically for me. Todd, y'all are going out of town again for Craft Brewers Conference
I think I fixed that.
2 weeks. It's not next week, but the week after, right? The first full week of May, I believe, is when it is. I believe it's May 2nd through that Thursday, right? James has it on calendar. Yeah. So, and it's going to be a deja vu, a repeat. Y'all are leaving. Y'all are going to send me. It's in Minneapolis this year, right? So y'all are probably. I'm trying to think. Y'all going to go to Surly? I'm trying to think of the cities right there. What do they call that area? That Minneapolis and what's that other city next to it? Darn it. St. Paul.
St. Paul.
St. Paul. Yeah, that area. Are y'all going to go brewery hopping around there, or just whatever's?
I think we'll probably just go back to our room and probably won't do anything.
Watch TV.
Yeah. But if you're, it was fun when you were there, but it just wouldn't be as fun without you.
I'm not forwarding you all the messages of people so when y'all were in California and I shared a photo or two on our Instagram story, someone was like, Josh, you're in my neck of the woods. Send me a message. I'll get you a free beer. And I was like, I'm not actually with them. And they're like, tell Todd to meet me. I was like, nope, not doing it. Not sending that message. Not going to.
We'll probably just hang out in the hotel room. So,
if y'all want to hang out with Todd and James in Minneapolis, reach out to Todd on his Instagram. Go direct to him. It's at T Burns or at Toddy Cool Guy. I don't remember what your username is, but I'll put it.
Or just text me. I mean, I don't ever look at Instagram. So.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I do. I don't know if it would pop up or not. I don't know.
It should if you have the app installed. It would be a push notification, just like a text message would.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get you set up that way. Because you don't want me. Listen, our audience is great, but there's weirdos out there. You don't want your public phone number on there.
Yeah, 512-749-7713. I could care less, dude. It's on our website. It's everywhere. I don't
First
care.
off, I couldn't care less. It's not. If you could care less, then you care, and you could care less. You couldn't care less. But okay, fine. I welcome. I welcome people to message Todd now.
Let me give you Josh's number.
I have the beep button. Hold on. That would
it's on the website too. If y'all want to.
It is. It would be the first episode I edit. Anyway, let me get us into relevant small talk. But yeah. So there hasn't been a couple weeks or a few weeks of Booze News Weekly because I've been having to work for real. It's terrible. I've been slave labor. Not actually, no, it hasn't been that bad, but we have priorities. We're trying to get orders out, and it's been a nice pickup of orders recently, especially Amazon. Todd, you've been doing a good job with getting stuff on Amazon that people are wanting to buy. The problem, I think, for the longest time with Amazon was just well, what should we put on there that people would want? Whatever you're doing is working, because I get emails all the time now, bloop, bloop, order up, bloop, bloop, order up. So
yeah, we have been getting a lot of sales there, and there's a lot of times they're small, but we'll take everything we can get, right, James?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but anyway, so yeah, Booze News Weekly is coming back. I'm pre-recording on the weekend is what I'm determined to do, because when Mondays are rolling around and I'm doing orders when I'm up there or here catching up on emails and stuff, it just wasn't feasible.
It's just not enough time in the day when you have to work, is it?
I know. That's what I don't like joking like that, because it's not completely a joke. But yeah, it's terrible. Oh, like I said, I joined that new subreddit Anti-Work, and they made some good points. But anyway, so yeah, Booze News Weekly coming back and pre-recording on weekends, so maybe it won't be the most current booze news if something happens on a Sunday. But anyway, also it is still April, which means we put on the screen there, boom, this month's recipe receiving members of our Trub Club is Todd's Barn Beer, which it comes with the Imperial House, and I'm gonna say it is an amber, is what Todd calls it. It is an amber ale.
It's a light amber.
Light amber. Thank you. I knew there was another adjective in there. Is it light? But
it's not light alcohol, and it's not light flavor. It tastes great, but the color wasn't. So here's the deal: the color wasn't 100. It wasn't like, I don't know. Remember what the scale is, but it's like 20 to 28 or something, and it's like a 18, and the problem is I just didn't want to put any more of some of the grains in, because I didn't want to start to bitter it, so I just decided to leave it a little lighter. It's really tastes good though. I mean, y'all can attest to that.
Oh, it is. Yeah. It's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
No, it's one of my favorite beers you brewed. I know James is still convicted that ESB you brewed is the best beer you've. Oh wait, right? The ESB is what you just said.
No, he switched. I forgot what it was.
The lemon drop.
The lemon drop.
That you did,
that's what it was.
Really good.
My
new favorite.
Best beer he's ever brewed.
Did you try the summer beer, the lawnmower beer last night, James?
Yeah, it was good and light and real light body.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know how you felt about that one, because we may release that one.
Yep.
Oh, I think that
as a recipe as well. I think to me it's just a great pool, beach, or summer beer.
How long did you cold condition it? Because that was as bright as a day, man. I mean, it was a bright beer.
Yes.
It was cold conditioned a long time. Yeah. I mean, I have so many beers. I had plenty of time, and I really brightened it up, and it's a good beer. I had one last night
in the keg, right? Is how the most of the time.
Yeah. And I was worried because I brought his keg and kind of shook it up, but it was still bright even after being shook up. So we must have gotten all the stuff out of it, right, James?
Yeah.
I posted a photo of it on our Instagram. It was
still bright when
super bright.
I had to carb it a little bit, and it was still bright when we were testing it. I got it home, got it hooked up, and it still looked great.
Yeah,
and that one was carbed, but it definitely wasn't carbed enough, because I had to add carbonation to it as well.
Oh, on yours, yeah. Yeah, it was super bright. And also the photo that I shared, it was in a sharp looking glass. I don't know the new glassware. Man,
it's very nice. Yeah.
I got one for you, James. I put it on top of your keg of coal. So I'm either going to remember both or I'm going to forget both. But I have a reminder on my phone. But y'all aren't going to be there. I guess, should I leave your keg up in the walk-in upstairs?
Yeah. Just leave them both up there.
Okay. That makes sense. The whole reason I didn't bring it last time was like, oh, I don't know where I'm going to put their beer, but I forgot about the walk-in.
The whole reason you didn't bring it last time is you forgot.
No. The week that y'all weren't there, I didn't forget.
No, you forgot it.
No, I purposely didn't bring it that week because I was like, well, they're not there anyway, and where am I going to put it? I forgot about the walk-in. Don't roll your eyes at me. I'm taking you off camera. Anyway, so yes, back on the screen, Todd's Barn Beer. If you want to brew with us, it's delicious. I promise you're going to love it. Your system's not as efficient as Todd, so it's not going to be as boozy, but thank us for that. Also, at any tier, April's giveaway is this beautiful Sanke decoupler with MFL connections. That means you're going to be able to connect it to any line that's already threaded. If you buy stuff from Keg Connection, that's probably how your lines are. This is the easiest way to swap between commercial kegs, homebrew kegs, and as someone who's done that frequently, I promise you it's enjoyable to be able to do that. We buy, it's been a while, but we had a keg of Hans Pills for some family thing a year or two ago, and it's nice when you can just unswivel, put one connection on, put it on the keg, and unswivel and switch back. It's a nice thing. So yeah, every level of our Trub Club at patreon.com/homebrew happy hour is eligible for that giveaway. And again, $35, $50 tiers and up. We do have people who are in the even higher than that tiers because they want 10 or 15 gallon recipes every month or every other month. You'll get Todd's Barn Beer. Usually when it's your first month, I always say, oh, you actually, your recipes don't start till the next month. But more times than not, if someone joins and they're like, hey, I'm in it for the long haul, take my word for it, but I really want this month's recipe, I let it slide because ultimately it's Todd's money and I don't mind spending Todd's money. So with all that being said, it's time for listener feedback. We do have listener feedback on this week's episode. Comes from our buddy Chris from South Florida.
Hey guys, this is Chris from South Florida. I'm calling with some feedback on that tap cooler question that you guys had on the last episode. I have a tap cooler. I had a beer gun before, and the tap cooler is hands down much easier to use than the beer gun. You don't have to connect it to the keg. You connect it right to your tap. You can connect it to your keg. You don't have to mess with pressure. It's much more convenient, much easier, works so much better than a beer gun, and I would suggest the tap cooler over any other method of bottling if you have to bottle. The one thing is it works on just about any tap. The only thing is if you do have like the V3S, the CMB taps, you do have to contact James and get them to replace the threaded portion for your handle, because the V3S has a vented portion, and when you try to use a tap cooler with that, it will spit beer out the top. So you do need to have that one where it's not vented, and it will work really, really good. But it does have to be a forward seal faucet besides that. So thanks, guys. Thanks for the show, and hope to listen to you guys later. Bye.
Chris, thank you so much for submitting that feedback. Yeah, guys, I included that because I've been getting a lot of feedback about our comments where people love that tap cooler. Maybe I should get one. I'll contact them, see if maybe we can do a review video or something on it, because people like it. I think what it, to me, proves is that I'm a creature of habit, and I'm so used to using and loving the beer gun that I'm like, yeah, why would you want anything else? It's easy to use, and I already know what I'm doing. And where James's answer is like, why are you bottling? What is the point? I don't understand the bottling.
The vented part is surprising to me. I thought most beer faucets were vented.
I did too.
I don't. That's confusing to me because, most beer faucets that I've seen are vented.
You're referring to most forward seals. What you're referring to, like the inner taps or the Perlick or the Nuka taps. Right. Yeah, I honestly don't know. That's y'all's domain. I should know, but I don't know. James, he made it seem like he spoke out of experience. Have you had that phone call where people go, "Hey, do you have a replacement lever?"
I think that was him. That I've only had one person I dealt with on something like that, so it's probably was him.
And obviously, it resolved the issue of beer.
Oh yeah, the only thing about that when you don't have a vent is people will confuse dripping with a leaky faucet. And the reason why, there's a vacuum created after the liquid leaves the tap nozzle, and it'll hold in there, and whatever's left in the nozzle will slowly work its way out. So, I always tell people, especially somebody that wants to go with a ventless faucet, like our nitro faucet doesn't have a vent because it's got to go through, build pressure to push through the diffuser disc. That it's going to drip a little bit, but that's just residual liquid behind the diffuser disc or in front of the forward sealing area. And it's not leaking. You need a drip tray.
Right. You need a drip tray. Exactly.
Yeah.
But anyways, thank you again, Chris. And I'll go ahead and interject this before we get to the questions, that even with feedback, when you call and leave a voicemail for feedback or a question, we do give you a $25 gift card to techconnection.com. If it's a text to 325-305-6107, or you use the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com, we give you a $15 gift card to techconnection.com. Still pretty good. So, moving on, we got 4 questions for this week's episode. Our first one is a voicemail from our buddy Patrick.
Hey, it's Patrick from Maine. Calling guys on a yeast-based question. I tried to propagate my own yeast, separated it out, all that. I put it in the fridge, moved it in the garage. It got cold. The garage froze, so my yeast froze. Has since thawed. So the big question there is it still any good? My guess is no, but doesn't hurt to keep it and wait for a response there.
Yeah.
And thank you.
I like that.
I mean, my
guess.
My understanding, without Googling it or anything, my understanding is that yeast. I know I have frozen yeast before, and it has worked when I thought it out, but I don't know a whole lot about that. Besides that, I have frozen yeast before.
You have, obviously on accident. You didn't put it in the freezer.
I can tell you exactly when it happened. We may be thinking about the different thing, but when we first started lagering, if you remember, we had that lager, that little freezer, and we were doing a 5-gallon. We were lagering a 5-gallon batch of beer in there, and somebody had come around and unhooked the controller and plugged it right into the wall.
Oh no!
So it froze and it thawed out and it started bubbling again. So not going to say that's what's going to happen, but I was shocked because I figured, once the yeast cells froze, they would burst and it would kill them. But I was shocked that it started bubbling again. It really was amazing.
Yeah, I didn't do any homework either, Todd. And the sci-fi fan and Walt Disney nut in me wants to, even though he wasn't really cryogenically frozen, but that's the rumor, makes me want to say like, oh, duh, they do that in movies all the time. They freeze it and then they reanimate you later, and 500 years later. I think that was the plot point to that one Wesley Snipes movie.
I think yeast is a somewhat simpler organism.
Well, that means it should be easier to preserve.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. My gut says, like Patrick's saying, like, one of the reasons I took your question, Patrick, I was like, use that $25 gift card and get some yeast. And then I remember, crap, we don't even sell yeast anymore. But and that's non-transferable, man. You can't use our gift cards at more beer. Sorry. But the yeast, like y'all said, in our anecdotal experience, goes against what my gut says, because I remember that happening where it got plugged into the wall, it froze, but everything worked out just fine. Because for a while there, like every beer we brewed had some kind of story, like, oh, I mashed in the lower end way low because the thermometer was off, or oh, this happened or that, but they all ended up great, which made me feel invincible because I was like, oh man, I just take it easy because it seems like all these beers are going to end up good anyway. But would you say would making a starter be the best way to figure out if it's still viable?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you could try making a starter with what you have and see if you see any activity. Then you know for sure whether it's viable enough to try to repitch. That was
the only suggestion I had was, hey, if you make a starter the night before, see if it, or even 2 days before, but really ideally a night before, and see if it's viable. And if it is, boom, now you've got a great starter. You've already increased your foundational starting point for your batch when it starts. I mean, because a starter is at the end of the day gonna only be beneficial to the fermentation, is my understanding of starters. I've never done one because I haven't had to, because Imperial Yeast. But that would be the easiest way to test it, Patrick. And if it doesn't work, like James says, you're probably keeping 05 in your fridge, right? Because everyone keeps 05 on hand just in case something like this happens, or some kind of dry. But anyways, I don't know. I don't have a lot more to add to it, or I think we've kind of wrapped up that question. You agree, Todd?
Yep.
Okay. So thank you, Patrick, for submitting your question. Moving on to our second question of the week was a text message from our buddy Alex using our hotline at 325-305-6107. Alex wrote, stupid question for you. Can I serve from a pressurized conical with glycol lines? Seems so. If I can carbonate and keep the temps down, then why not just use it as an all-in-one for serving too? Alex sent me this a couple weeks ago, and I wrote back to him saying, "Oh, we're using your question on a future episode." Last week I did an interview, so I didn't take any questions, and he expounded on this and said, I don't have people really come over. I don't care about the aesthetics. He was giving me more context. So, like, can I not just, use primary in there, dump trub, do a faux secondary and/or cold conditioning, and then just serve after I pressurize it? And my exactly. Yep. That's what I told. I said I'm going to take your question anyway, but
you already know the answer because we do it because you steal beer out of mine every time you come over that I have a beer in the fermenter.
Yes, exactly. I was like,
that's great, isn't it?
I told Alex I'm an expert. Yeah.
Yeah. They turn into a bright tank.
The only problem is when you get ready to keg your 3 kegs of beer, and there's not 3 kegs of beer in there anymore.
And there's not 2 kegs of beer in there anymore. Well, so I did also bring this question to the table because you guys, y'all taste off it all the time. I mean, you're doing what Alex is describing here. Is there any con you see to that setup if you're not going to keg anyway? Because Alex very blatantly told me he's trying to make an all-in-one in regards to fermentation serving. He's not going to have a kegerator at all. He's not going to bottle at all. He wants to. This is going to be a setup he's about to build himself or source himself. And
I mean, there's definitely some downsides to it. The number one one would be that typically the sampling depends on which one you have, but the sampler is fairly high up. So you would leave a lot of beer in there if you just served from that and you never ended up pulling anything out. That would be my biggest concern, is a lot of waste. And also, if you've got it really, I mean, a lot of times when we're tasting it, it may not be completely carbonated. If you get it fully carbonated, say you're carbonating it, you're putting it at like 12 psi, it might get difficult to pour a beer without foam. And then also my third thing I think would be that with ours in particular, we just don't get it to the temperature that I would what I would want. We might be in the 42 range, and most people serve beer 36 to 38. It just depends on the style. Some beers might actually be better coming out of there, but that would be the downsides. Can you think of any other issues, James?
I would serve from, most of those conicals, especially the spike, they have a dip tube on there's 2 valves. There's one for dumping trub at the bottom, and then the next one up is what we use when we move it into a keg. You can get those plates, tri-clamp plates with a 1/2-inch thread, and you can put your fitting on that. Mm-hmm. Where your dip tube is, so you can actually put your dip tube right where you want it. Keep in mind, you got to keep the trub off the bottom, insulate it real good, get a good efficient coil for it. That way you can bring the temperatures down to serving temp, 35 to 38 degrees. You're serving almost at the bottom. There's some things that you need to do to make that work. But I know that when I helped Wes set up his dispensing setup at Teddy's, he's pulling right off the bright tanks in the cooler, and he's using that second valve from the bottom, the one that you normally use to put in kegs, or just like you would on any conical.
So is he doing a faucet of some sort?
He's just running. He's got a ball valve, but he's got one of those tri-clamp plates with a 1/2-inch hole. He's running a barb there, and then running his line straight to the tap, to the wall, and it seems to work good for him.
Wow, interesting.
Next time we're there, you'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I think I've seen it before, but the problem I always had was just if you don't have a faucet at all and you're opening a valve, is the foaming,
Yeah, it's connected to the faucets on the wall. So he's got a simple
you're
bulb
talking
out.
about going over to the faucets on the wall.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
at
I thought
Teddy's,
you meant he
right.
was serving it right there.
No.
No, I think he mentioned that he was going to use some kind of length of line.
Yeah, I don't know if you could. For this guy, though, it seems like there'd be some way you could get a faucet on there. I'd have to think about it.
Yeah, you could do. I would do, insulated line to some kind of mounted tap.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we're agreeing it can be done in a way that would ensure a good pour. Because like Todd said, the worst thing that would happen is that, you did it to serving pressure and then no restriction going on whatsoever. And it's just an unfortunate pour. But
and it hasn't stopped us from doing it, though.
No, it won't. And it won't.
And it won't.
It's
Right.
But Todd is right. The sample poured on the side of our spike. It's a terrible dispensing faucet because it's either foams or no foam. It depends on if it's at the level of carbonation we like, 2.5 volumes, it'll foam like crazy.
Right. So you're always having to keep it undercarbed a little. So
what I would do is I would just put a tri-clamp plate with a hole and a barb and just put it on that dispensing valve, like if you were going to keg out of it, and then just run like some insulated tubing and mount the faucet somewhere on the side. That way you'll have the best chance. Flow control will be perfect for that. A little flow control faucet with insulated line to that, and then you could dial the foam out.
Yeah, and that's one would be great.
That would be good.
Yeah. And you could also you could still do direct draw to, like on my system, I have insulated line going through the wall. If you wanted to do something like that.
Or you could use an inline flow control too. There's a lot of options.
Yeah. So. I didn't even think about that. Inline flow control probably be a whole lot cheaper. If you wanted to try to, get this done as economical as possible, you could definitely do it that way.
I had an inline flow control, and now we use ETS ones, so it's in the faucet, and we don't need them anymore. But when I had a kegerator at home, at my previous home, and those things are fantastic. Like what a easy solution to continue using the majority, your current faucet setup, and you just implement that inline, dial it in at whatever you want, depending on what you're serving. And I loved it. That was when I had those old V2G faucets, which are discontinued. And now you do V3Ss with bent nozzles anyway, so it's basically the same faucet. But that V2G was just, it was beautiful. But
I don't understand when they never took off like the V3S.
And that's what's funny, right? Is the V3S with bent nozzle are kind of popular. And I was like, why didn't you buy the V2Gs?
I always told, when I first started, we had gobs of them in Dallas. And that was my favorite. I like the fact that
I loved it. Well,
you're the bigger body.
Funny enough, you're the one who gave me the V2G at one of those times I went to visit the shop, and I was like, "Oh, I need a faucet for my, all I have is a standard chrome plated one." You're like, "Take this one." I was like, "I can't really take that." You're like, "Take it now," and I was like, "Well, I'm not going to argue with the man." I still have that V2G. I love it.
You do a lot of social media posts, so I'm sure it's been people have seen it.
Not enough to save the V2G though, unfortunately.
Yeah.
From its fate as a discontinued faucet. But like I said, the V3S with bent nozzle, tons of people on our Instagram or on Cat Connections or even CM Beckers will say like, man, that bent nozzle, that looks good. But just the style of it, the aesthetics of a bent nozzle is so pretty. But anyways, Alex, so it's not a stupid question because we do it all the time, serving from it, but there might be some caveats or some planning you want to do before just using a standard, like the way you might get a CF10 or whatever stainless steel.
You just have to MacGyver a little bit of stuff.
Exactly.
And you'd be fine. But dispensing straight off of that, would be...
Might be hard.
It'd be hard. Yeah. I mean, you could technically, I guess, if you wanted to, you could take a tri-clamp, a blank, like I think ours are 2.5 or 3 inch. You take one of those blank ones, drill a hole for the shank, and then you could mount the faucet assembly. You want to mount it in front of the valve, and then you could put it with a tri-clamp gasket, tighten it all down, make sure it doesn't leak, and try to do it there. But without having restriction,
it's gonna be bad.
Yeah, it's
Probably. Yeah.
It
You
would
really need restriction. Yeah.
You do of some sort. Yeah. But anyways, Alex, thank you so much for submitting that question. Moving on to our third question for this week. One of my favorite people ever. It's Marty from Omaha.
Hi, Gilligan, Skipper, and Professor. This is Marty from Omaha. I've done a few lagers, just very few, in my 7 years of brewing, and thought I need to try to master that. I'm currently lagering at Dortmunder Special Export. I know lagering takes 4 to 6 weeks, but I want to put in a diacetyl rest when the fermentation is about 75% done. The top end of the yeast fermentation temp is 48 degrees, which is where I'm at. I would like to raise that up to about 55 once primary fermentation is done. I am fermenting in a stainless steel fermenter with a brew jacket, so I can't really see the beer. And I think it ferments so slow that there aren't a lot of bubbles in the airlock. So what do you suggest? Go about 4 weeks before I do the rest, or test every few days after maybe a couple weeks and see what the gravity is to determine if fermentation is close? But that's kind of a pain in the butt because I got to lift the fermenter out of the jacket every time I do that. What do you think, Professor James? Have a good day.
Wait, whoa. You
Love
didn't,
the show.
you didn't, just James. It's messed up, man. Because Todd, this is like no, it's James's question. Okay.
No, Todd's he's the go-to guy on that.
And y'all both use the same fermenter style stainless steel,
Yeah.
and with jackets.
We both know the answer, right, James?
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say most stainless steel fermenters have a valve on it. You know, you could pour it into a sample, like a hydrometer sample tube. But you don't want to go 2 weeks, especially if you're using, the correct amount of yeast, because you miss that diacetyl rest window. The yeast doesn't. There's nothing left to eat. There's no sugars left to eat. It's useless. It doesn't do anything at all. So, I mean, if you don't have a sample valve, they have a product called a Thief. You can go down, you sanitize it, and you can put it down into the wort and pull it back up, and you can do it. You can actually float a hydrometer in one of those. But you want to check it.
Yep.
I don't know if I can check it every day, but you want to be on top of fermentation. When it hits 10-20, you want to be able to hit that diacetyl rest.
Yeah, I think we've both missed it somewhat before, and you want to. It's got to have something left to do the work with.
James, your favorite strain right now for lager is Harvest. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think you've said it.
And I think the ferment is 3478. I believe that's the lager yeast that we use.
It is a
if
78.
I don't have Harvest. Yep. It's a good yeast too. Todd and I both. It saved our butts on a stuck fermentation, and
sometimes that Imperial finishes quicker than the average strain. Would you say? I know you said 2 weeks is too long. For any strain, really, to be a first.
Todd, you know this. I'll start checking like 3 days after fermentation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was going to get, like a ballpark figure, because I'm with you. I think y'all start finishing after about 3 days, and then that's when you bump it up to the appropriate temperature. And how long do you leave it for a diacetyl rest? Is it
5 days is what I do. I just let it finish out at room temp.
When it when it's bubbling, going crazy, you're probably, when it starts to slow down a little is when I don't know the best way to describe it, but yeah, definitely check it.
Yeah. Right after high Krausen.
Right after the high Krausen. Yeah. I was going to say, I was trying to think right there how deep I wanted to go. Cause sometimes we do questions and people go, they're talking about a concept I don't know. And then often I refer them to older episodes. I didn't want to deep dive like, well, James, what is a diacetyl rest? Why is it important? As much as just like the surface level thing is, as diacetyl rest and lagers is important to make sure that the yeast do their jobs and that your finish.
But the harvest yeast is a pretty clean yeast. It produces very low diacetyl. In fact, I would go so far as to say probably not needed with harvest yeast.
I'm quoting you on that.
Or you could pressure ferment, which would take care of that, because I'm an expert on that now because I listened to the last episode.
Yeah.
Hey,
well, that was informative. I mean,
it was a very good episode.
Yeah, Jonathan, he knows his he's only a stone throw away from us in Fort Worth, And so he offered, he goes, you know, if y'all'd like to, I'd love to come down there and film some stuff about Kvike and pressure.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
I told him that. I said, we'll get it scheduled, man. We'll get you on, and that'd be great. But yeah, Todd is now the in-house. It's like that movie Inglourious Bastards where Brad Pitt is trying to tell everyone who speaks Italian. And I forget the whole line. It was like, I don't speak any Italian.
Todd knows it verbatim.
Oh yeah, I don't know if it's it basically says he speaks the best Italian. He speaks the second best. He speaks the third best. I don't know verbatim, but and then the last guy's like, but sir, I don't speak any Italian. Well, that's why you speak at the third.
Yeah, that's
best.
why you speak at the third best. That's right. Yeah. So that's why Todd is our in-house expert on pressure fermentation.
I know what the third best.
You know, Anvil and /Blickman is sending us. I gave him the shop's address. They're sending us one of those new PET conicals that they've got.
I thought you bought one.
Yeah, no. They're sending it to us for exchange for review.
Because I thought for some reason in the episode, I thought it was coming to your house.
Well, I originally gave him my address, and then I told him, I said, hey, before you ship it, send it to the warehouse. Because the warehouse.
That's awesome. So we have a new fermenter, James.
Awesome.
Darn it. Oh. You know what though? Here's what I did tell their contact over there, Matt, super nice guy. Everyone at Blickman's nice. That's why I think people always, whenever they go against, like we're such good friends with 99.5% of the industry, and the other 0.5 is Todd. We're such good friends with the industry that if y'all like one product over another, it really doesn't hurt our feelings. When we get people saying like, "Oh, well, I've just really been enjoying Omega Yeast," so like that's fantastic. That's awesome.
Yeah,
we love that.
Whatever
works for you. So yeah, with some people who, when they wrote about the tap cooler, they're like, I know y'all's relationship with Blickman. I was like, look, I don't know who made tap cooler. I'm sure they're great people too. If there's another product out there you like, tell us about it. We want to know too. You're not going to hurt. John Blickman's not losing sleep because we said another product's name on the show. In fact, John Blickman, I've seen him drink 500 beers and not lose sleep either. So the guy is made of steel. He's not going to get his feelings hurt.
Yeah, and everybody's friends.
Everyone's friends. For like I said, 98.5%. There's 1.5% of people who don't think I'm funny. Therefore, they're dead to me. But besides that, so yeah, with I forgot how I even digressed so far off of Marty's question. I
don't even remember what it was now. Yeah.
Lagering in a stainless steel conical and checking. Okay, so like we're saying on average, James, let's say he's not using what's known to be a fast finishing one. You still think 3 days after fermentation starts is safe to check, or 5 days?
Yeah, let me tell you, this is exactly why I check it a lot, is because the fact that you're using lager yeast, you have to have higher cell numbers because it's fermenting in colder environments, so the fermentation's a little slower. In some instances can be a lot slower. Depends on the viability of the yeast when you pitch it. So when you check it and you're monitoring that, another great product would be one of those floating hydrometers that have an app for your phone,
like Tilt or
a Tilt would be my suggestion. You know, hey Marty, get a Tilt, throw it in there, and then you don't have to worry about wasting beer with hydrometer samples. But going back to what I was originally trying to say is, you know, I do that because I see how the yeast is working. The attenuation, you can tell the attenuation by the gravity over given count of days. And I've had some lagers that stuck. You know, it stuck at like 1030 or 1025. Well, that's way too sweet for anything that I want to drink. So then, at least if you're monitoring it, you know where it's at. You can help it out by rousing, just shaking it a little bit. Sometimes that's all it takes. Or maybe adding a little dry yeast to it to get it through the hump. But Todd and I both this year had an issue with a lager sticking, and we were able to get them. He was able to save his, and I was able to save mine, and they turned out to be pretty darn good beer. Yeah. But, you know, that's the reason why I monitor it, is I just want to make sure that the yeast is doing what it's supposed to be doing, and we're at diacetyl rest. Don't probably need it, but I'm a forced creature of habit. So if I'm going to do a lager, I'm going to do a diacetyl rest because it doesn't hurt anything.
It's a good habit to keep, especially if you ever change. You can
get it chomped down. You just have to have sugar in the wort. for the yeast to eat the sugars, and coincidentally with the warmer temperatures, it'll eat the diacetyl too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was chuckling. I wasn't on screen, but I was chuckling when you said how you're like, I check it a lot, but no one checks their beer from brew day to when they finally pour any more than Todd Burns. Oh my gosh. The guy everyone always asks me, how does he break so many hydrometers? It's not actually because he's a bull in a china shop, which he is, but it's because you pull him out so much. You're using it all the time. You use your equipment.
I probably have 8 hydrometers at my house. I can break 7 of them before I have to drive to the office. Yeah.
But you test beer, but hey, I give you flack because we're friends. But your beer also turns out the best in the group, so absolutely. I'm not going to fault you for whatever your methods are. Keep doing it.
I don't know about that. You guys brew some spectacular beers. Well, I wish I could be more objective, and I had a Kolsch to drink, James.
Yeah,
but I don't have a Kolsch to drink.
Yeah, I've been thirsty for a Kolsch.
Yeah, let me get the camera and walk y'all to my fridge. How pissed would y'all be if I was drawing during the workday when y'all are gone for Craft Brewers Conference off y'all's keg upstairs? Just going to be pouring off of my nice CMB event faucet from your keg of Kolsch, Todd.
Well, I think what's happened is he's drank the beer and he's trying to figure out how to
I have to brew it again.
Yeah. So all of you know, we did a beer trade. So I brewed a beer, James brewed a beer, Josh brewed a beer, and we all switched the 3 beers. So Josh came up and he's like, "Oh, I kind of forgot to bring y'all's, but I'll bring it next time. But gladly pay you Tuesday for a burger today."
I'll give you a nickel.
He took both of his home, and he's been up here like 57 times since then and never remembers our Kolsch.
Yes, 57 times I've been up there without your Kolsch. I'll bring it, and I'll take photos when I'm driving up there on the next trip, and I'll show you it loading it up into the cold room upstairs.
Good, we're ready.
Yeah, it is. I actually don't know how it tastes. I should draw off it. I haven't tasted it since kegging it. It tasted decent then 5 weeks ago.
So you didn't drink? You didn't drink your own keg?
Wait, no, I only brewed 10 gallons. Remember, the whole reason was I was like, I really want an alt beer of James, so that's why I brewed a 10 gallon in the G40 and 5 for you and 5 for I can brew Kolsch anytime. I mean, I literally have grains for Kolsch almost. I almost take it home every other trip.
You should brew 15 gallons so that you could keep a keg.
Tell my dad to make the space. I'm trying to get him a Brautag. I got him that glassware for his birthday, which is in a couple weeks, and Father's Day. I'd love to make it official and have he listens. Pop, make the room so we can brew.
I thought he was retired. Doesn't he have time to do stuff like that?
He has the time. It's the space. He has to make the space for the Brautag. But I've told him it's worth it. It's totally worth it. It's life changing. Brewing on our Herm system is the easiest way I've ever made decent beer. In my very limited experience with it, my 3 brew days now on a Brautag have been 3 very solid beers that I've been super happy with. But anyway, I'm sorry. Marty, thank you for submitting the question. Last reminder that if and when you'll submit a question through voicemail to 325-305-6107, we do give you a $25 gift card to ketconnection.com. If it's a text message and or email to joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com, you still get a $15 gift card. Pretty good. So we've got one last question before we wrap up this episode. Came from our buddy Dan, who did use the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Dan wrote, "Can ambient odors affect the final taste of my fermenting beer? The closet I plan to put my bucket in also has old books and smells like an antique store. I'm wondering if I should get rid of the smells before using the closet to ferment in. I sure hope it doesn't affect it because my office stinks."
Gas. There's positive pressure inside that fermenter.
That's what I was thinking too. I was going to answer like I was smart, like, well, according to the laws of, I don't even know what the laws it would be, not thermodynamics, but it is. You're right. There's the pressure, positive pressure is preventing air from coming in during your primary. There's no way even if you cleaning materials or cat piss or whatever odor might be in the same vicinity. I can't imagine one having enough force to make its way to seep into your beer and affect the flavor of it.
And there's a blanket of CO2 even when fermentation is done. I think it's just it's not going to happen. Wouldn't be an issue at all.
I'm not gonna lie, too. Antique stores, that's a pleasant smell, Dan. I'd leave your closet smelling like that. There's much worse smells in the world. My parents are borderline hoarders, and they have a shed full of all old stuff and a lot of my stuff. So I guess I shouldn't talk too much crap. But it smells like an antique store. My favorite thing is walking in this little shed and just it reminds me of old people and shopping. But Todd, I don't know if you have anything to add to it. I was going to make a joke at your expense that room that you usually ferment in, all those buckets, when those groomsmen stayed at your place, I sure as hell hope you weren't fermenting beer in there if odors can affect it. Because when I came up to the barn after those, how old were they, you think? 22, 23?
20, 20.
Early 20. They stunk up your barn. They stunk it up. It was offensive to my nose when I got there for that trip. And I really did think,
are you,
go ahead.
Speaking of offensive, are you going to explain that devil child on your shirt?
I'm smushing her face. Every year that Esther, ever since her, look, that's from our trip to In and Out. This is we made special shirts for her. We call it Esther Faye's Special Day. It celebrates when the removal of her ganglioglioma from a craniotomy in September of 2019. Pardon me. But this year's our third annual in September, our third annual Esther Faye's Special Day. So time flies, right? Feels like yesterday that she had that. And we also, since you asked, Todd, and I'll bring it up, not to be a Debbie Downer, but the neurosurgeon who performed it on her, he was the nation's most renowned pediatric neurosurgeon, Dr. Timothy George. He passed away 5 or 6 weeks after doing that procedure on Esther. So we also celebrate his life because we are eternally grateful that she had the hands of God basically operating on her brain. And she's, y'all have seen her, or y'all have at least heard my stories of her. She's as normal a weirdo little girl as she can be. about to be 10 years old. So we're about to be double digits. Time flies. But yeah, thanks, Todd, for pointing out my shirt. I didn't even realize I was wearing it till y'all got on the Zoom and you go, "What the hell is that on your shirt?" I was like, "That's Esther." Well, poor girl too looks way too much like me compared to my other kids. This poor kid. I'll do it too. But anyways, back to the question for Dan to wrap it up. No, man, don't worry about it. Ambient smells will not affect your primary. If you want to get rid of the smells because it bothers you, that's your business. But it's not going to affect your beer. We are confident in that. But anyways, that does it for this week's show, guys. Appreciate y'all's time. I know it's crazy up there. And I'm not there next week. Actually, golly, this next trip, I'm not going to see y'all again either because y'all are going to be in Minneapolis having a terrible time without me and visiting vendors and just work and no time and no time for play. No beer at the craft brewers. Can festival. Y'all can actually come home that Thursday. Convention. Can we find a time to do a 5-minute check-in from Zoom, like on your phone or something?
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's try to do that week.
Yeah. Okay. We could have done that last week when we were
and I didn't even
having a California lager at Anchor Steam.
I didn't. I was so upset at y'all. I didn't think about it. But no, I wasn't. That
was the beer, Todd, that we both had. That California lager.
Yeah, we had that, and then we had a dark beer
lager.
That was really good. I forgot what it was now, but man, it was good.
Yeah, I hate good beer.
It was a special beer that they only have at the tasting room. That Josh, you'd have to go there to try.
It's almost as bad as when you went to Grand Rapids and you're like, "Hey," all kind of slurring his words. "Hey, let me put a video." And you're at Founders. You're like, "Oh, look who I am." I don't know if you remember that trip. James, I don't think you were with him on that trip. Were you when he went to Founders? Yeah, you were, weren't you? Did you go to
Philadelphia?
No. Oh, Grand Rapids when he went to
Grand Rapids. No, I was by myself.
Oh, okay.
I had a good time by myself.
I know.
Wow, I had fun on that trip.
Anyways, I'm wrapping up the show, guys. Thank you for y'all's time. I appreciate it. I'll catch y'all soon.
All right, see ya.
And
Bye-bye.
that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or remember you can call or text them in to 325-305-6100. 07. Brew better beer with the new Grainfather G40 all-in-one electric system available now at grainfather.com. Also get a free pack of premium Imperial Yeast along with our premium recipes when you join our Trub Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.